See. All right, let's get drawn back in by the blue eyes.
Yes, that's right. Your mind doesn't drift far, but until it comes back to Pat Cummins, he will be the Australian Test captain for the Ashes and for the foreseeable future. Steve Smith will be the vice captain, and apparently does have the ability to set fields and have some input in decision making. And then Cummins will be, the media man to face our lovely Australian media, which loves to always support our Australian cricketers. Cockheads. So interesting. I think, no surprises here.
It was expected. We knew Cummins was being groomed to be the captain.
Indeed.
What I think the Steve Smith thing potentially came left field.
Yeah, it caught me a little bit napping. I thought Steve Smith had been blacklisted from being a captain. I hadn't kind of considered would they give him the vice, and it makes sense. He can field in the slips. He can set fields on the field. He can do anything tactical, and Pat Cummins can be the man to face the media and have the second most important job in this country in being the Australian cricket captain.
So what are your thoughts on, because I've got two questions here. One, Steve Smith after, Sandpapergate, the banning, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, of course, like you said before, the Australian media, cricket media especially, getting stuck into him. But you can't do that. He's a cheat, blah, blah. What do you think? I think he served his time. He didn't really do the crime. He allowed it under his leadership.
Look, let's be honest. They were all in on it. They're all in on it. There were three guys that got in trouble, but you can't tell me that there was only three guys that knew about it. Yeah, I agree. Served the time. Had to take time away from the game. Had to take a long time away from being, in the leadership group. Obviously, a big fan myself here of Steve Smith. I think he's done the time and deserves to have that vice captain role. I'm sure our cricket enemies in the Barmy Army and the Indian fans will have some kind of objection. But in my eyes, good on Steve Smith, and it'll be nice to see him there. Having some input, which, to be honest, without being the vice captain the last few years, probably has a fair bit to say when it comes to tactics.
So that was going to be my second question. Is Cummins end up going to be the pseudo captain?
I think he's going to be the media man. He's going to be the squeaky clean Tim Paine that was meant to be this clean cut good boy. Until recent events came to light. I do think that's kind of how it's going to be. It's going to be a 1-2 punch with Cummins facing the questions and Steve helping out a lot with tactical decisions on the field. So
you're not worried about the Steve Smith White anting of Cummins, of his leadership?
No, I think they'd be great mates. I think that they would put aside any kind of personal, egotistical kind of thinking, and just want to win test matches and want to get Australia back to being a dominant force in all forms of cricket. So no, I don't think those two blokes don't really strike me as that egotistical. Obviously hard to tell from the outside looking in. But I think it's a good fit.
They've played a lot of cricket together.
They've played a lot of cricket together. They'd be best of mates off the field. I like the decision.
So, final question on this bit of news. What were your thoughts on the line of questioning or investigation they did on Cummins pre him accepting the captaincy? Did you see that report about they digging for skeletons, essentially?
Well, they're doing little Twitter searches and,
Well, they're asking him direct questions. It's like, is there anything we should know about that potentially could come to light and affect your captaincy? Cricket
Australia, it's like, joining the Defence Force or something, being a special agent for ASIO or something. They got to really dig into your past these days, see if you got any after school detention when you're fucking in year 4. Like that is the world that we live in these days.
Yeah.
Look,
you got to ask the question.
Yeah. Who knows? Stuff that happens in private lives, should, in my opinion, stay kind of private. And if it does come to light, you make a decision. But that's the world that we live in now with social media and. You've got to, I understand where Cricket Australia is coming from, trying to cover all their bases there. But in my eyes, he's a fast bowling weapon. He's good looking. He's just had a baby, and he's got a come in as a first-time captain and lead us to a 4-zip Ashes win.
Yes. Well, are you saying it's 4-zip because there's no Perth test?
I'm saying it's 4-zip because I think one will get rained out. La Nina, very green down here at the moment, a little bit wetter than usual.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to use that segue and we'll come back to Tim Paine in a minute. What do you think of the potential no Western Australia test? It looks like McGowan, our best mate, is closing the borders for the new variant.
He's a fuckwit. I'm just going to say it. Like, I really don't like bad-mouthing athletes that, that do jobs that, hundreds of thousands of people try to get to and have reached those elite areas. I'm not a big fan of bad-mouthing them. This guy, dead set, like, he catch up with the rest of the world. And there's a whole argument with they allowed the AFL grand final to go ahead. Like, what's the difference there?
Money.
But they'll be giving up a fair bit of money here too, you'd imagine. But anyways, for those that aren't in the loop, Western Australia's Premier, Mark McGowan, is not opening up the borders for this Perth test. It seems within the last few days that it will not go ahead in WA. The big question going forward is where will this Perth test go? Now, this is a can of worms. This is an absolute can of worms. Hobart and Canberra are two destinations that may be able to host, a fifth Ashes test.
Yeah, but are the grounds big enough? I think ends up being the question.
Not for the Ashes, is it? If this was Sri Lanka or the West Indies touring,
Easy.
Sure, cricket Tasmania, here's your test.
Well, I think weren't they going to play the Afghanistan test against?
Afghanistan was going to be in Hobart.
There you go.
So that's Cricket Tasmania's angle. They've obviously hosted a plethora of Test cricket. Our theatre of dreams, just up the road here, it hosts 15,000. Maybe you can get some extra seating in there to make it 18,000. They'll probably sell out every day. That's our push, Cricket Australia. I'm sure you're listening, to host the Ashes in Canberra at Manuka Oval.
Yep.
I think we have fucking Buckley's chance of that happening, but would love to see it happen. I think the word is probably giving a second test to Melbourne or Sydney and possibly making it a day-night one to spice it up a little bit.
Okay. Yep. Because, that was going to be my thoughts. They'll probably double up. Use one of the other 4 grounds they're already playing out.
Think of the money.
Yeah.
Think of the money. 100,000 people in the MCG. You'd want to repeat it. They generally sell out the first 3 days.
Well, that's the thing. So you got the 4th test already in Sydney. Would you have a double header in Sydney, or would you send it back down to Melbourne?
And that's a great question there, Jimmy. The other interesting thing here is Sydney tests always sell out like that because you've got the population being quite similar, but the ground holding half the capacity. Yeah. So this might be Cricket Australia just going, righto, let's give everyone in Sydney a chance and host just a back-to-back Sydney test. If I was a betting man, and I am, I think that's the most likely option is back-to-back in Sydney.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they went back to Melbourne and try to sell a few more bums in seats. And go from there.
So if you're Cricket Australia and you actually want to give Australia an advantage, which ground would you pick?
Good question. Historically, we're not great in Sydney.
Is it the Gabba? Or?
Well,
we don't mention the Indians.
No, fuck it. We dominated them for 30 years. So well done to our Indian listeners. Getting that historic win at the Gabba in the last test match held in Australia, which is nearly a year ago. Think of that. That's an option to go back up to Brisbane. I'd say less likely. Less likely.
From the money perspective, no, I wouldn't think they'd take it back to Brisbane.
Like the Gabba's nearly as big as the SCG, so you kind of got to think of it that way. But look, money talks. We've learned a few things in our first year of podcasting here. I'm sure anyone sort of a little bit older and wiser could have said, you fucking idiot, always follow the money because that's the way that's going to go. But I'll say back-to-back in Sydney as the number one likely outcome and the second most likely going back to Melbourne.
Could they have a pitch ready back-to-back with a week in between?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, quite easily. They do drop-ins in Melbourne and just standard in Sydney, I don't think it would be too much of an issue getting a pitch ready.
Okay. So we go back to Tim Paine. We've got to finish that story off. As we mentioned, Tim Paine did take his leave of absence from cricket since his family's doing it tough, as they probably would, with the media hounding them constantly.
They're the real victims in all of this.
Yeah.
You know, you feel sorry for Tim Paine, the cricketer. You feel sorry for his career, but you know, him and his wife and his kids. You know, that obviously she knew about it. They'd been through it 4 years ago. You know, you try and heal, you try and get through it. People are human. Not condoning it, but, you know, that they've got to try and move on. And now it all gets, you know, front page of the paper and everyone's fucking talking about it. And
it reminds me a lot of Matty Johns and his situation for that story as well. But
how many times do you hear it? You know, like people's private lives are private, I think, for a reason. And again, not to condone what Tim did, but the real victims in all of this is him and his family and the lady involved for it to all be, you know, the talking point of the last few weeks. But and as we kind of speculated, we kind of thought we doubted that Tim Paine would be playing in, you know, in this Ashes, despite staying
big ask, I reckon.
Staying in the squad after the initial news broke. It was nice to see JL after finishing his quarantine from coming over from the Emirates. Actually flew down to Hobart, spend a little bit of time with Tim. You know, make sure that his mental health is going okay.
Well,
and
they both came in at the same time, didn't they?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So I think I don't know if they had any. No, because Paine would have been here the whole time. So.
Yeah, but when Buff was coach?
Yeah, sorry, yep, yeah. So when Buff got axed and JL got the top job and Tim Paine got the top job, yep, they came in at the same time in that aspect. So yeah, good to see. I think that's strong leadership from JL, who himself has been hounded by the media this year as well.
Both were on the chopping block, based on how the series would go. So yeah. You know,
fuck the mainstream media. Listen to podcasts and unqualified idiots that drink beers and.
We'll get to Brendan Smith later. Anyway, so his replacement, we speculated potentially Philip P, potentially Inglis, potentially maybe Wade, but in the end they went with the known-ish commodity, and Alex Carey. He was probably our favourite for this.
The last pod was 2 weeks ago, but I was quite confident in saying that Alex Carey will be the Australian keeper at the Gabba. And then I kind of looked at the numbers since saying that on the last podcast, and I kind of thought, well, maybe this isn't so cut and dry. He has struggled this year in the Shield.
So that was probably the big thing. Is like his overall Shield record's pretty good. His recent form, though, not so good compared to the other blokes, especially Philippi, who's, I think, fourth in runs in the Shield currently.
Yeah.
And then Inglis, I think he got like 70-odd recently in a Shield match.
Obviously been in the UAE riding the Paine essentially for the T20 World Cup. So can you pick a bloke that hasn't played any red ball cricket?
Did he play in one Shield match this week?
I think, just this week.
So I think he got one decent score in it, which puts him in the conversation. But then, of course, you got Matthew Wade, who's
and it wouldn't have surprised me if they went Wade. You know, he's tied and tested. Wow, he's
very tested.
He's tried and tested, if you will. But you kind of think maybe his red ball career is starting to come to an end.
Much older. Alex, of course, is 30, so you've got him at least for the next 5 years potentially as Australian wicketkeeper. And then when we talk about Philippi, by that point, will be the same age as Alex is now. He'll be 29, 30.
He's a young bloke, Josh Philippi. He's got a lot of cricket ahead of him.
Exactly.
And Inglis a touch older than him. But yeah, I think the best man for the job got picked. I think it was Alex Carey. Should have been the front runner, and congratulations to him. He's played 45 ODIs for Australia, averaging 36, which is no mean feat. Despite that poor Shield record this year, I'm happy with the decision. I'm happy for Alex Carey, and looking forward to seeing what he can do next week at the Gabba.
Yeah, my preference is just purely because I like to build young talent over long periods of time. Would have been Philippi, because I could see put him in there making the wicketkeeper for the next 15 years. Your job set. But also he's got to play well enough to maintain that position, and bringing a young fella into probably the pinnacle of Australian Test cricket in the Ashes maybe not the greatest idea.
pressure there.
Yeah, so I can understand why they went with Alex Carey for that reason.
And the thing is with cricket, it's so late developing, especially for batsmen. Like you think of a guy like Mike Hussey, or even
Steve Smith.
Well, even if you want to go back to Adam Gilchrist, Gilchrist was 29 when he played his first test. Like you can be, so good in your early 20s, but you don't really hit your prime into your late 20s and even early 30s.
Yep.
So I think that's the argument against blooding a 24-year-old. As good as Philippi is, I'm glad they went with Carey and hoping he can score some runs and have some immediate impact.
And I don't think we've got an answer yet. The Australia game will be end of day 2 today from memory. They're doing the 1st through to the 3rd of December with their 3-day inter-game match, which I don't think you're going to be able to find a stats for. You can try. Because we're still
got secret squirrels, is it?
Well, it's behind closed doors, I believe, because it's an internal one. So I don't think there'll be anyone allowed to view it.
Right.
So it depends if that maybe ups the level of competition for them.
What an impactful game for those guys vying for spots. Considering we've probably got nine spots wrapped up. There's probably.
I think there's a preference for Harris for that 10. So you're probably down to Usman and Head for the finals five.
So but a bit of noise this week coming out of Shane Warne as well, who thinks that Mitchell Starc should get dropped for Jai Richardson. We've spoken about how well Richardson's been playing the Shield. He averages 13 with the ball or something like that.
Just different types of bowlers, though. That's the thing. Like he's more your Hazelwood and Cummins kind of bowler.
Exactly. Chip away. Probably
you want your Starc in there as a big tall that can bounce it all over the place.
Exactly.
Throw a couple of rockets.
Throw a few at 154 at your fucking throat. Do you know what I mean? And
we know the Pommies don't like that. So
no one likes that. no one fucking likes that. And not to take anything away from Jai, I think he will play a fair bit of Test cricket. I do get the feeling that this is Shane Warne just trying to be a bit more of a talking head. That's his role now.
It's headline.
Yeah, he's an Australian Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless, if you will.
He fell off his motorbike this week, and that made headlines. So
Big warning. Look, I doubt that Starc misses out, and Warney was saying Lyon is under pressure because he had a poor summer last year. I think that's more clickbaity stuff than anything.
Who's the second spinner we got in the squad? Is it Swepson? I think Swepson's in the Ashes.
Can you chase out that squad? I know Warney's been a big advocate for Mitch Swepson for many, many years. However, his Sheffield Shield record is not the best. I'm not sure if they got a second spinner.
I think it was Swepson in the 15.
In the 15.
When I looked at it earlier.
But what's he talking about? Like, all right, Nathan Lyon, took 11 wickets at 48 or whatever last summer against India.
He had a rough summer, but he's still got it.
He's the best off spinner in Australian history, and he's top 6 or 7 in wickets taken for Australians ever. I just can't see him being under any pressure. It is Mitch Swepson that is in that squad, and no disrespect to Swepson, but I can't imagine Nathan Lyon's job's under any pressure there. I imagine Shane just trying to get a little bit of media noise out there, a few clicks on some articles, and I can't imagine it being much more than that.
Yeah, Lyon will be first choice, and if they need some extra turning, they've got Labuschagne, or if they pick Head and Smith, they all can throw some rank turners down there as well if
Indeed.
they need be.
How about Wikipedia there? They have done Tim Paine absolutely dirty. He's in that Australian squad with the line through him. Rest in peace to our former captain and leader. Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, you feel for him, but that is the world that we live in.